Do you have more moments of peace? Are you less anxious? Are you feeling less stressed? Are you sleeping better? Are your relationships better? Look for all of those signs that many people, myself, clients that I have experienced during meditation.
How's it going, team? Welcome back to another episode of the Average Jazz Podcast, where we bring you great conversations with real people doing incredible things. I'm your host, Jack McKinnon, and today I'm joined with Christina Wickens, a passionate meditation guide and a mindset mentor. Christina jumps into how meditation has helped her discover inner peace, the power of stillness, and the importance of mindfulness in today's non-stop world. A really insightful chat, and one that I think everyone can benefit from. It was really inspiring for me, and I really loved diving into the world of meditation a little bit more with someone who is so well experienced. Before we get into it, a huge thank you to our sponsor, Bit of a Strength. Don't forget to use the code AverageJack, 20% off at www.bitofstrength.co.uk. And as always, head over to www.jackmckinnon.co.uk for more podcast content and updates. Check out Christina and what she's up to below. But now, let's dive into the episode. Peace. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining me. And I sort of obviously want to explain why I sort of reached out. So the podcast, and I wrote a book about habits, happiness and health, and that's sort of what got me on this journey. And I think I just came across you on Instagram and just found it super interesting that you just, dedicated so much to meditation. And what I like to do before we get into the podcast is just allow you to sort of give a background on your journey, who you are, and sort of what got you to this point today, if that's okay.
Sure. I think a lot of people can relate to this, but I was working a lot. I was feeling stressed. I was feeling burnt out. I get this question all the time. Are you this calm all the time? And no, no, I wasn't. And I was working so much. I was just feeling stressed. I was feeling anxious. I wasn't sleeping very good. And I was feeling very disconnected from myself. So I knew there was something that I wanted to fix. I just didn't know what it was. And I'm someone that, I love learning, I love studying. So I was reading different books on successful people out there. And I came across one that someone had tried yoga. So I thought, oh yeah, yoga, maybe that's what I need to do. Not really understanding, the true definition of what yoga is and all of that. So I ended up going into a yoga teacher training program and was doing kind of the whole program with the moves and all of that. But what I really enjoyed was those moments of stillness when I was just not moving. And we ended up doing this 21-day meditation challenge where we were told that we needed to meditate for 21 days in a row. I found it extremely challenging, especially at the start, because, I was in a state of chronic stress and I was overworked. I really hadn't taken time for myself to rest and relax. So I went into this 21-day challenge, and towards the end of it, I started to feel these moments of calm, of bliss, of peace, and these really powerful, silent kind of moments for me. And in those moments, I knew, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I need. And then this is what I need to do more of in my life.
That's amazing. And it's funny you mentioned that there about, having these moments of sort of stillness. And I think in today's society, we're very much always thinking ahead. And something that I've struggled with, I would say, is trying to be present more and being in that moment. And I think I have a tumultuous relationship with meditation, I'd say, and sort of stillness. I'm very much 100 miles an hour. But when I do practice it and I get into that routine, I can appreciate the what it brings in that presence and sort of just being there in the moment and allowing to check in with yourself. And you've just explained the sort of the massive impact that had on you. What was that? When was sort of the idea to, create the page and go really full throttle into like the meditation and almost, turning like a passion into purpose? Was there a eureka moment or some sort of, epiphany that this is the time and this is sort of what I want to do?
Yeah, actually, I had this really powerful meditation, and it was actually within this yoga teacher training program that I was doing. We were just, doing yoga, and we were doing kind of the final relaxation pose. And I went into such a powerful meditative state that I really had this very powerful experience that I couldn't explain. I wanted to, learn more about it and to figure it out. And I figured, if I had such a powerful experience, kind of near the beginning of my experience, what could there be moving forward? And I really wanted to help other people to really kind of experience the same kind of feeling. And it was a feeling of just overwhelm, bliss, love, happiness, disconnection. And it was a really, really powerful experience. And I'm someone that, I've basically done teaching, coaching, educating essentially my whole life. Even as a child, I was kind of always elected to do, in these leadership type positions and, coach people, train people. And then, in my career, doing a lot of education and teaching. And teaching is something that just comes really natural to me. And it's something that is my purpose, is my passion. And what is better than to teach people how to meditate and to relax?
Yeah, and you just summed it up really well there, and it makes perfect sense. And you got when you go back to saying sort of you had such a positive experience soon on, and then you was like, oh well, why not sort of channel this and see how far we can go with it? And just listening to you, I can just see and sort of understand how much it means to you and how impactful it's been. Something that I want to ask, and I hope you don't mind me asking, I think meditation is something that people can find quite skeptical initially. There's sort of connotations with it that people are sort of reluctant to jump into it. Did you ever have any of them, reluctances or skepticisms before you actually applied yourself to trying it?
Yes, I was so skeptical at the start. Because I didn't go into kind of the program wanting to meditate. I was thinking, oh yeah, yoga, you see a lot of people do yoga, do a few poses and they're smiling afterwards. We'll give that a try. And I was really, really skeptical. And, in today's world, there's so much, stimulation, there's so much stress, there's so much you need to be doing this, there's so much expectations on us. And to even think about that, oh, if you just sit and relax and sit in stillness and do nothing instead of going from this do culture to just a be culture, just being and resting. It's just a completely foreign concept, especially if it's something that's new to you that you haven't grown up with. So I was incredibly skeptical. And at the start, it was very, very challenging for me to get into that stillness because we're peeling back all of these layers that we've built up over the years. So these layers of stress, all these various emotions that have built up, all these thoughts that we've been avoiding and doing other things to not think about, they're all going to come back. And it's a very, very challenging experience. And at the start, it's you're saying, what am I doing? Like, I'm not good at this. We have a society too where we want to be good at everything we do immediately, and not have this struggle. But it is challenging to do that. But what I recommend for myself and for other people is really about looking for the changes in your life outside of your meditation practice. So instead of judging your meditation practice, saying, oh, I had some thoughts, oh, I couldn't settle, I couldn't do this. What, we encourage people to do is to look at their life outside of their meditation practice, look to see if they have any benefits outside of it. And if they're feeling challenged, look for an experienced instructor and look at the research out there that might give you a little bit more hope to say, a lot of people are experiencing positive things, maybe I can experience it as well.
Yeah, excuse me, definitely. And you mentioned there about when you do practice meditation, something that I've experienced is sometimes you come out of it and you're almost battling yourself that you have this expectation to be, Zen, or you're there and it should just be something that comes so naturally. Because I think for me, something that I struggled with initially, it was like, oh, well, it's just breathing. I can breathe. I should be able to do this for ages. But it's complete, like I said, it's an alien thing. And it's like anything. When I've spoken to people about my sort of, little journey with it and the benefits I feel from it, I did like a 30-day challenge of trying to meditate, and the first 10 days were really good. And then the middle 10 days were really hard. And it was sort of understanding that it's a skill. It needs refining, and motivation plays a big factor of that. And it's keeping that, when that motivation dips and realizing that you're going more internal. Like I said, unearthing them things. It is crazy what comes out when you just sat breathing, thinking about your body, and you sort of pick things up that you didn't even know was there. And like body scanning and things like that were so, interesting to me. And this has obviously led to why I've got you on today to sort of pick it. Someone who deals with it pretty much every day and sort of dedicated so much of their life to it. And it's really cool to hear your experience. So, like going forward with that, you have mentioned about today's society and everyone being, do and not be. Do you think that is where the importance of meditation lies today? Is that it helps people remove themselves from that rat race vibe and, always thinking next move ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. What it does is it just helps us go into this stillness. It really combats what, today's world is because there's just so much stimulation. There's so much stress, so much anxiety. There's mental health issues are on the rise. And there's so many conditioned beliefs that unfortunately are passed down and down and down that are not overly helpful for us to be happy and joyful in our lives. And meditation allows us to really just stop and think and say, what are we doing? What am I doing? And it, like you're saying, it gets us out of that rat race of just, we wake up, we go to work, we go to bed, we wake up, we go to work, we go to bed. And, what are we doing? We
Mm.
need, there's also so many amazing technologies, so many amazing things that we have in society right now. So, we can be grateful for all the amazing benefits that we have now that we didn't have back in the day. But all of these amazing things that we have had is taking us away from that connection with ourselves and really understanding ourselves at a deeper level and who we are each individually. And that's what I really believe meditation helps us to do, is to really dive into ourselves and who are we? What do we really want out of this life that we're living?
Yeah, and you've summed it up again really good. And I feel like a lot of people are maybe scared of peeling away that layer and looking internally. And that's something that, as I've got older, I've realised that we need to do more to understand what, our values are as people and purpose, because I don't think a lot of us understand what our values are until we're a lot older. I don't know what the culture is where you're from, but the culture where I am from is very sort of extrinsic and material when you're young, and it's like keeping up with the Joneses and this and that, and you get consumed by it. And I feel like meditation for me was something that I started doing on and off a few years ago. And it was like one of the first times where I was like, oh, like the happiness and the understanding of me does come from within. And to segue with something that you did say before about like the misconceptions that are passed down and down and down, how do you manage that misconception, and try and educate people that have this pre-notion of meditation and what it is? Because it still very much is. I think if you speak to maybe the older generation, is that, oh well, it's hippie, it's this, it's that. Do you come across that still quite a lot?
Yeah, I do. I come across that quite a lot, especially, in everyone. I think everyone's a little bit skeptical, like we kind of
Mm.
mentioned about. There's a big kind of misconception that, meditation is quite religious with a lot of people. Meditation can be a part of many religions that people use to help them relax, but it's not necessarily connected with a religion. And you can go into meditation and just have it be meditation. It doesn't have to be connected to anything. And just it's very different from what people learn growing up, is going again from that do to the sitting and doing nothing. And that's what people say, oh, you just want me to sit and do nothing? I have so many things I need to do. But which I had as well. I said, no, I can't sit and do nothing. I got too much stuff to do. But it's within that the answers come. So we go into the silence and all these, the problems that we've had, all of a sudden the answers emerge. Solutions come, whether it's we just think of them spontaneously, either, inside the meditation or even outside of the meditation, or just, a series of events align to just kind of make our life better for ourselves. So it takes a little bit to kind of understand that. And what I would recommend for people is, to look for benefits that you can see when you're doing this. And also look at the research that's emerging, because we are starting to see some good research that's coming out of studying people that are meditating.
And a question that I did want to ask you is from your own personal perspective and with what you do now, and how important is it to keep up with the research and sort of, look into it? Because if anything, the majority of the research is only backing up what you're trying to get across, I imagine. From what I've seen, I don't do a lot of, looking into research and studies, but when you see things pop up and you look into them, it's always positive for the most part. And how important is it on your behalf to keep up with that academic literature?
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's important for new people, and it's important to, there's just so many cool things out there. Meditation, like as far as the science and the research, they only really started studying it in the mid 1990s, right? So it's like relatively recent, which is why it is taking people a little bit of time to kind of wrap their minds around it. Initially, they're looking at people kind of discussing different things and their perceptions of the benefits. Now they're able to put people into different imaging studies like MRI scans. They're able to put different electrodes on people's brains to look at their brain and really look at the brain activity of people when they're meditating. And what they're noticing is people can actually change their brain when they meditate, which is why it is so difficult for us when we're starting, because we're physically changing our brain. And that's something that I like to remind people as well is, it is so challenging because we're changing the brain. And when we look at, the images that they're taking, the areas that we're focused on, when people that don't meditate, what we can see is they're focused on areas of the brain associated with, stress, maybe depression, different kind of areas where it's difficulty concentrating. And then people that meditate, we can see that their brain activity shifts to more positive areas of focus, calm, and clarity, because there's different areas in the brain that you go to activate these different thoughts and feelings. And, it's just super interesting to see that. And just recently, they're also able to look at the advanced benefits. So the advanced benefits of what is it like to have formlessness during meditation. So a sensation of being, separate from your body, or loss of consciousness sensation, is they're able to actually study that now, that people can go into these very powerful experiences during meditation, which, I really find helpful. And the more and more they can study, they can actually, study different techniques of meditation. So that's why, I find it interesting, because, if they're studying all of this so closely, we could even look at the techniques that we're teaching people and maybe tweak them to see what, the studies are showing. And then for myself, the studies really align so much with like what I experienced during meditation, because I can feel these various kind of pressure feelings in my head. I don't know if this is going to make sense to anybody, but when I first started, I could feel pressure kind of in the back of my head, and that's more associated with your stress, your amygdala, your kind of fight and flight kind of response. And now feeling kind of a pressure, a relaxation feeling in the front of my body. So I don't know, I just look at my experience during meditation, the research, and I'm like, yeah, it looks like things are aligning there. But it's just so cool what they're able to do now with all the different imaging studies and all of that. And it's just so cool to see what they'll be able to do in the next 10 years, right?
Yeah, and it's just ever evolving and just always getting better. The techniques in which they're using for all research and study. Have you ever fancied putting yourself forward for one of them and letting them test you while you do it?
Maybe it's just hard finding the time for it right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah,
with
for sure.
everything. Yeah, yeah. Just try and put you in an MRI for 10 hours and be like,
Yeah,
just breathe.
that sounds like a really relaxing day.
Yeah, a good break as well. But you mentioned there about when people are getting into it initially, it is difficult because you are training your brain, this muscle like mind muscle connection, all that sort of stuff. How do you advise people to overcome them barriers? Do you know, is there anything that common themes you see and sort of common tips or tricks that you can say to people like you might feel this, but if you do this.
Yeah, there's very common tips that I have that can help everyone. The first one is starting off very small. So there's huge benefits in just starting out with a 5 to 10 minute meditation sitting. So many people, start out with 30 minutes, which, you eventually, when you're feeling comfortable, you can extend your sessions and build up to 30 minutes. But I get a lot of people that start and stop really quickly because they start with 30 minutes of meditation instead of just starting out with 5 to 10 minutes. And like what the studies are showing is that even doing short, small sessions of 5 to 10 minutes has huge benefits. And then as you start to get a little bit more comfortable, then you can start to expand your sessions and make them a little bit longer. And it just kind of naturally happens as you meditate. And then I would be prepared for it to be hard. It's not going to be easy. And like I mentioned, you're physically changing your brain. You're changing it for the better. And every single meditation you do it's a cumulative effect, right? So
Mm.
it works, it adds up, and you see the benefits over time. And why it's so hard is because again, you're physically changing your brain, but you have to peel back these layers like you kind of mentioned. You have to peel back all of the thoughts. So it's whether it's, the overthinking, the negative thinking, all these thoughts of the past or the future that are preventing you from just focusing and enjoying the present. You have to peel back all of these thoughts. You have to peel back all of the emotions associated with them, whether it is anger, it's sadness, whatever it is, those emotions are going to come out to the surface. You have to peel back those emotions because you're physically changing the brain. And then in today's society, we have so many expectations about
Mm.
what things need to be, what things should be. And those expectations, expectations in general lead to unhappiness, but expectations really hamper our progress in meditation. And the expectation I would recommend that everyone go in with is just the expectation that I'm going to sit and rest my body. I'm just
Mhm.
going to sit and rest for 5 to 10 minutes. That's all I'm going to do. Whatever happens, happens, but I'm just going to set my timer and sit and rest for 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to be kind to myself. If my mind wanders, I think about other things, I'm going to do my best, but I'm just going to sit and rest and just to be patient with it and look over time and to continue on with your meditation practice. Like I mentioned, I did 21 days of meditation. And if I didn't force myself to do 21 days of meditation, I would have stopped for sure maybe even after day 15, I would have stopped. But I just kept going because I don't know, I'm stubborn or something like that. But I wanted to see the benefits, right?
Mm.
I wanted to complete what I had in mind. So just keep going, have an expectation that you're going to set a certain amount of time, whether it's 21 days, whether it's 30 days, just to do this meditation for a few minutes a day and just see what happens. And then just look at your life outside of your meditation practice and see if you see any benefits to your life.
I mean, brilliant, and it's super insightful, and it makes perfect sense because it's like anything, if you was going to try and run a marathon, you wouldn't go out and run a marathon on your first go. You would, progressively overload over a certain amount of time. You would start with, probably a couple of K and build and build and taper and like adapt. And I think it is such a thing where people just go, well, I should just be able to sit and be silent for 30 minutes and feel this sense. And something I wanted to ask you, because you did allude to it there about, being persistent and almost stubborn with it. Do you still struggle sometimes today with meditation? Is it like training where, you may go to the gym one day, you have the best session of your life, and then you go and think, oh, I'm going to have another really good session today, and it's rubbish. Does that happen when you're practicing meditating as well?
I would say at the beginning, The
Mm,
first couple of years, you struggle with the judgment and the struggle, but I think over time you just see the benefits. And the more you meditate, the easier it is just to meditate, which
mm,
is super helpful. But maybe an example that I have is, I started meditating. I had a really consistent practice. Everything was going good. Then I got pregnant with my daughter, and this was at the height of the pandemic. And then I just stopped meditating because I had other priorities at hand. And I noticed things like I had initially, like stress, anxiety, all of that kind of starts to come back into your life. And it was kind of like, oh, I'm not as calm as I used to be. I'm having stress, I'm having anxiety, because I was so focused on my new role as a mother, and just kind of all the barriers that we faced during the pandemic with all of that. And it was, oh, I need to get back into meditating. So I think you're gonna have, like anything, like working out, you're gonna have periods where you might fall off and not meditate because things come up, and then you can jump back on. And for me, because I had such a solid meditation practice before all of this, it was quite easy for me to jump back on, get back into my routine when I kind of just identified that, oh, I have stress, I have anxiety, it's starting to kind of creep back in. I'm not meditating. I need to get
yeah,
back into my routine. So it's so normal. And I love the analogy of running a marathon, because I actually love to use that all the time with meditation. Is so many of us go into meditation expecting to run that marathon perfectly. And it's perfect analogy to say, no, you need to train for it. Typically you do some stretching, you do, a couple smaller runs, and then you slowly build up to that marathon. It's the same exact thing when we're meditating. It's we're strengthening the muscle in our mind there.
yeah. Love that. And I also wanted to say, like, or ask, not say, I wanted to ask how it feels like it's a very intrinsic thing, meditation, and you obviously the mirror is pretty much fully turned inward. But from what you see, it has such a massive community around it as well, which is strange because it seems like such a. I'm trying to word this without it sounding wrong, but it seems like a very it's for you, isn't it? Meditation. I think my experience with it is that it's sort of for you. You're assessing you and your situation. But a lot of people seem to have like communities, breathwork classes. This is almost coming to the forefront, and you see it a lot more. Do you think community has a big role in developing meditation and pushing that positive message back into like society and fighting them connotations and perceptions we mentioned?
Yeah, 100%. Community is such a huge part of this whole journey. And part of why my journey was so challenging is because I didn't know a single person that meditated in my life. I didn't have any friends or family or anybody that knew anything about meditation. So I was alone on kind of this journey, to kind of do it by myself. And now that, I do have a community of amazing people, we can support each other, we can talk about the benefits. Now many of my friends and family all meditate.
Yeah,
So it just makes it so much easier. And so when you have challenges, when you have various things that happen, you have people that you can talk to about it, and you can relate to things, and you have people that can support you and cheer you on as well.
yeah, and it's massive in anything, isn't it? Community. I found for myself when I have a background of playing team sports, and then I went and did sort of individual stuff, and then I just always found the enjoyment to be so much more when you was in that environment of other people. It also, I mean, positive or negatively, it takes all the pressure off you as well. And I think it's dependent on how your mindset and how you're sort of programmed aligns, but community is massive, and it's same with working out. I think that's why you see a lot of these things like CrossFit and High Rocks and all these things shoot to the forefront of being popular is because people can do it with their friends, people can do it with their family members, and I think now meditation and breath work and that sort of thing is coming. I mean, there's festivals over here now in the UK where they are centered on like well-being, and that is something that I'd never seen before. I don't know if it's because maybe my algorithms changed slightly, like you see it a lot more now, but it's so positive to see. And I think for men as well, do you see in men more of a reluctance than women in your experience?
Yeah, I would say so. There is it depends on the culture as well.
Mm,
So if we're talking about like where you and I maybe are from, maybe I can't speak to yours, kind of the North American culture,
mm,
we do see a lot more women that get into meditation kind of easier. But I do see a lot of men that are coming into meditation, like not as much as the women, but men that are interested in finding that stillness into like moving forward. There's a lot of, very successful men nowadays that meditate. So I think it's just kind of changing our perception and kind of figuring out, why are you wanting to meditate? What do you want out of it? And there's many things people do want out of it. There's a lot of people that meditate because they want to be successful. They're maybe the type A people and they're just wanting to give themselves a bit of a break. And they recognize that, a lot of people have these very powerful experiences, thoughts that really are life changing and really transform their lives completely for the better. So I think the more that people can talk about their experiences and the more that we can hear them, we can help support everybody that wants to meditate, no matter what the gender, no matter what your gender is or your background.
yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And something that I wanted to again ask, and I feel free, you don't have to share this, but I was sort of interested into what your sort of routine is with meditation and how that's developed over the years and what it sort of looks like now. Would you mind sharing that, like your routine and sort of, how much of the day you set aside and how focused your day is around it?
Yeah, sure. So I think what you're going to find is when you meditate, your routine is going to change depending on the area of life that you're in.
Hmm.
Before I had kids, I had lots of time to meditate for 30-minute sittings.
Yeah.
And as things change, you just have to kind of roll with things. So part of the meditation is realizing that I am somebody that likes to wake up really early. So I wake up at 5 in the morning every single day, Monday to Sunday, and it's something that I enjoy, just to have time for myself where there's nobody else around.
Hmm.
What I like to do is do a bit of a kind of a quick workout when I wake up after I've had my coffee, where I guess I have a decaf coffee, but I like the taste. I have a short little workout. And then I do a meditation after the workout. And a lot of people will ask, should I meditate before or after? And that's just something you have to kind of experience for
Hmm.
yourself and see what works best for yourself. But I'll do a workout, I'll meditate. And then depending on how the day goes, after, I've done a full day of work, typically I'll come home and do a meditation. And if for whatever reason something happens and that doesn't work out, then typically after supper, I'll do a meditation. So just having kind of these backup opportunities that if I don't get a meditation in, I can always kind of fit one in. But sometimes I might just want three meditations in a day, depending on how the day goes. Or sometimes, things just come up with family and whatever, where you might be able to just do one meditation. But for myself, since I've been meditating for so long, it's easier for me to go into that kind of meditative state
Mm.
than when you're first starting out meditation. So it's an interesting kind of cycle that you'll go in, where you'll start with kind of shorter meditations, then you want to go into longer meditations to find out, okay, what's that perfect time for me where I really get into the zone. I'm really feeling that blissful, connected, relaxed state. And then you're going to notice that, you can go into that meditation sooner and sooner. I don't do anything fancy. I sit on a couch. I put my feet on the ground. I'm not in the lotus position. I'm in a position that's comfortable for me.
Mm.
And I repeat a Sanskrit mantra. So that's part of my practice, is repeating a mantra or words in a different language that we use just for the vibration. that really helps to bring me into the meditation a lot quicker and easier to focus on. And then I just use an app that has a gentle timer on it to kind of end the session. So
Mm.
it's not like an aggressive alarm or something on your
Yeah,
phone.
yeah.
You want to kind of, go into your meditation practice easily and just have a nice gentle kind of tone after to go out of your practice so you're still feeling nice and calm and relaxed.
Yeah, you don't want the raid siren alarm going off as you're coming out of a 20-minute meditation. Yeah, I can imagine that's not great. You mentioned there, and I'm just interested, like what's the longest you've ever sort of meditated for?
Well, the longest I've ever meditated for sure, like an hour and a half, potentially
Wow.
longer. Yeah, potentially longer. Sometimes, I'll do the short ones and then all of a sudden, oh, I'll do a long
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just, it
Just whatever you
depends.
feel like, just go with the
Yeah.
flow. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, if I could do a long one every day,
Just constant, just dip in and then just do the task and then straight back in. But the reason I asked about that with the meditation routine was sort of to get a base of the next question that I want to ask is, other than meditation, what would be sort of the three habits that you would recommend to people? That sort of that work for you personally, or you find marry well with meditation.
yeah, I would say it's along with taking care of the mind, especially if you want to really expand your practice, you also need to take care of your body as well. So, other things I would mention is including exercise into your daily routine, really looking at your nutrition. What are you eating and drinking for your body? Like both of those things for me have drastically shifted in my life. And then another thing I would mention, I don't know if it's more so a routine, but it's something that's very important for me daily, is setting clear boundaries.
Mm.
And it's something that I hear from so many people is that, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. And it takes us really away from ourselves and what we need and what we desire. So I would say having the ability to set clear boundaries daily is so important.
100%, and boundary setting is something that, again, I feel like I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about values and things like that. People don't particularly understand the boundaries as well until we get older, and I think meditation and mindfulness and being still and where you reflect can help sort of pinpoint them boundaries. I know from like friends who've done therapy and things like that, it's amazing how much comes up about boundaries and the fact that people don't set them, and that's what gets them in these positions of not trouble, but these repetitive cycles that they find themselves struggling to get out of. But yeah, they're really good examples. People normally struggle with the three. They're normally like, "Oh, I can give you one and two," but they were really good ones. So thank you. But on the counter of that, just to maybe stump you a little bit, is if there was one habit or routine that you have previously done or never done, and you would like to introduce it into your everyday life, what would it be and why?
Yeah, well, I don't know. You're talking about running a marathon. It has me thinking. But yeah, I probably, I have run half marathons, before having kids. It would be
Mm,
something that would be interesting to get back into it. I've been getting back, trying to have more time for myself, exercise, nutrition, all of that kind of things. I think it would be nice to maybe get back into running is something I enjoyed quite a lot. It just takes a lot of time
yeah.
for this training is the only thing. Yeah.
Do you find, just because it's something that I hear a lot and I have experience with it in running, when people say running can be meditative, like when they get in that state, did you ever find that with your experience of running?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if anyone can relate to that feeling of you can feel that meditative, you can feel like almost that disconnection from your body, almost like that like a powerful intuitive kind of feeling.
Mm,
That similar feeling you can feel when you're meditating, but like 1,000 times more
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, yeah.
when you're still. And I definitely, when I'm running, get moments of clarity and connection and bliss. Not at the start of running,
No,
but
no.
usually somewhere down the line.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really good at finishing a run. The first like K or well, probably first 3K, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is horrendous. Why am I doing that? And then you just sort of you get that connection, don't you, where everything is in sync, your breathing's finally aligned, sort of, and then yeah, you just sort of just struggling along, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this feels great, and then you finish, and you're like, oh, why couldn't it have felt like that when I started? But it never does, and it's probably a good analogy for meditating as well, isn't it? That initially it'll be difficult, and then it'll just all of a sudden hit.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you so much for coming on. And like you said, you are an early bird because it's something like 6 a.m. We started this at like 5:30 a.m. your time. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to jump on and just give us a really clear and brilliant insight into meditating and the benefits that it has. But before we go, obviously when we end this, if you don't mind staying on so we can have a little chat after, that'd be great. But just let people know what your future plans are and where they can find you on social media and other places.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at go.meditate. That's probably the social media I use most often. I also have a website that I can send to you to put in the show notes if you like. And what we're working on right now is we've talked so much about 21 days, but 21 days is so powerful. And we're doing a meditate and manifest challenge right away starting January 1st, to really allow people to build up a really good meditation habit in 21 days. It's an online program that you can do whenever it's comfortable for you. So I can put more information about that. I
Yeah,
can give
definitely.
that to you. And then I also offer an online certification program where we go through different styles of meditation. We experience different things. I give a ton of good tips throughout it to really help you on your meditation journey. And this program, we've seen a lot of really good results from people that it's really been transforming their lives. They've learned so much about themselves, and they're really kind of pivoting their life in a new, more powerful direction. So that's something that I can share with you if you like as well. That's kind of an ongoing program that we have, and something that I just want to focus on is just expanding our community,
Mm,
helping people, connecting people as well, because it is challenging when you first start meditation, but it's so much easier having a few friends and people you can connect with just to make everything so much easier. And just, if you're new to meditation, I would, look at the benefits again, like outside of your meditation practice. Look for things like, do you have more moments of calm? Do you have more moments of peace? Are you less anxious? Are you feeling less stressed? Are you sleeping better? Are your relationships better? Look for all of those signs that many people, myself, clients that I have, experience during meditation.
perfect. Thank you so much. I will put all that in the description. So yeah, once you send that over, that'll be in the show notes and the descriptions for when it goes live. So thank you very much for that.